Welcome to DualShock, the Brotherhood of Geeks PlayStation Podcast, episode 50. We have a lot to discuss today. Some of the topics we'll be discussing is details on the Last of Us HBO show. PlayStation is patenting trophies from older generations of PlayStation games. We also have found out that a Ghost of Tsushima movie is being made. And then our main topic, the PlayStation conversation, is that maybe the PlayStation Store could be shutting down for the PS3, the PSP, and the PS Vita. I'm one of your hosts, Brett J. Rasmussen, and over here, I got my other co-host.
You got Spectre.
Yeah! What's up, Spectre?
Oh, hey. Yeah. No, it's been I've been busy. I don't know about you. I'm hitting a couple of milestones here.
Oh, man.
I'm just about to have my 125th platinum trophy. Ooh. So I'm cruising along. Ooh, my goal is my very ambitious goal is to get to 200 plats before the end of the year. Is kind of the goal. So that's we'll see how that works out. That's about an average of 8 or 9 per month from now until the end of the year. So we'll see if I can actually accomplish that.
Okay.
A lot of easy stuff will be in there, but not everything will be easy. Mm-hmm. And then I hit another milestone, which we'll be doing a separate video on here eventually. I am going to be at, I'm of course, I think I've said it before on the podcast here, is I'm a avid collector of PlayStation Vita games, amongst other games, but I'm a Vita collector. I'm trying to get a complete Region 1 sealed set, which has to be sealed, which is very unique. I don't think anyone, I've checked on YouTube, I've checked everywhere, I don't think anyone's trying to get a sealed set but me. I'm convinced I'm the only person trying to do it, and I'm the only one crazy enough to do it, and I just reached the halfway point. So we'll be doing a video on that eventually here. I'm excited about that. I love talking about the Vita and collecting games for it. It's a very unique system, and it's a very unique piece of PlayStation history.
Yeah.
I know you appreciate the Vita a lot too.
I am very much a member of Vita Island. I have my passport of Vita Island on me.
Yeah, and like I said, we'll be doing a video on that eventually here too as well, but it's kind of appropriate too, because of course once we get to the main topic, we'll be talking about Vita as well. So
yes, we will be.
Yeah, but that's kind of what I've been up to. What about yourself?
Well, first, we have done 50 episodes of this. We are at episode 50.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's
Wise,
awesome.
I guess, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, this is awesome. So, but yeah, no, I mean, I've actually just picked up It Takes Two, and I am actually playing through it with my brother, and I'll be reviewing that game in a little bit. We'll be getting a video of that out also.
See, I feel like that's I'm gonna cut you off there. I feel like I mean that's kind of like a game like I was considering like playing with like my girlfriend, not my girlfriend, my fiance, and I just feels like that's more of an appropriate, I guess, was that a thought process for you, or?
I mean, yeah, I actually, when I picked it up, I went ahead and I called my girlfriend also, and I was telling her about it, and she was like, oh, okay. She first thought I was telling her the premise of it, and she was like, that sounds really weird. I'm like, it's more akin to it's more think more Toy Story than Chucky. And when I was explaining it to her, and she was like, okay. I mean, the premise of the game is, I actually think it's really cool. It's made by Hazelight. It's being directed by the same guy who did A Way Out, which is a phenomenal game. And pretty much the premise of It Takes Two is that pretty much these two parents have been arguing with each other for a very long time, and they're at the brink of a divorce, and pretty much their daughter makes a wish that she wants them to like rekindle and pretty much be back to the way it was when they were like loving each other and stuff. And she has these two like toy dolls, or like these two like little like figures, and they represent both of her parents. And then all of a sudden, it's like pretty much the parents like embody the two toys, and the narrator of the story is pretty much telling like, hey, this is a story about love, and we're like, you go through the game pretty much finding out like why they have been arguing and what's going on, and the goal is to bring them back together. So it's much, again, very story driven, but unlike with I think A Way Out, which was like kind of like there, you had some gameplay, you had some like things to do, but it was a lot of like walking, going through stuff. It was a lot of traversal, where this is kind of feels more like a platformer, which feels more fun. So yeah, no, I very much would play this with my lady partner also. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to playing it. I picked it up, and I'll be playing it very soon, and a review of that will be out shortly after it is finished. And then just been working on getting Grandmaster, like hitting hard level cap on Destiny 2, so I can finally, god dang it, get those trophies, and then I'm done.
I'm pushing you. That's like my thing. I want to see you get that that 100%. I really do.
Yeah. Well, I'm very close. I actually because I also have to go for the 100%. So like there are a few trophies in Forsaken that I don't have. So it's like get a seal, which I'm actually very close to getting, because you can get a seal for each season. So Season of the Chosen, I've been playing very actively. Also, it helps. I have found a new clan that is very active, who was like raiding and Crucible and Gambit and Vanguard and everything, and they're very active and stuff, and like they invite me, like I'm just playing Destiny while I'm like watching like SmackDown or whatever, watching wrestling, and they like, hey, come on in, we're doing a raid, or we're doing this, come on in. I'm like, oh, okay. So it's been really fun. I actually finished my very first raid, and which was the Deepstone Crypt, and everyone's been trying to get the Eye of Tomorrow rocket launcher exotic because it drops from there. And I've never played a raid in Destiny, like finished a raid in Destiny at all, ever. Not even Destiny 1. This is the very first one that I was able to beat from top to bottom, and I got an exotic, and I got the exotic from it, and everyone was like, mother effer. So, speaking of raids, we got to go back to Ghost of Tsushima too. We got to finish that also too.
Oh, I know. I keep procrastinating on it.
Oh, dude, it's okay. Like, there's only so much time in a day for us to do that, so it's totally fine.
It really, honestly, 90% of it. I really feel like you and I don't think we're the best players in the game. Like, I think we're above average, though. I think it's just a matter of us finding a couple of people that are decent enough to get through it with us. I think that's really what it comes down to.
Well, and I very much do agree, is that like you need, I think, like, because when we played, we had two other people that we didn't know doing it. I think that we need two people that like we know to be able to do the raid. Because I like, even though I just met these dudes in the clan, like my buddy that I play Destiny with, he's part of that clan, and he was like, hey, I have a buddy of mine who's like trying to get into a clan and stuff, who's like more active and does raids. And then, like, I got invited and joined it and stuff. So I very much agree. Like, when I finished that raid, I'm like, oh, this is really fun. Because, like, they explained, they Sherpa'd me. Like, they had Sherpas, which is like, all right, I'm going to lead you through the raid. I'm going to show you how this works, how the mechanics of it works. You do this. This is what you're going to do. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. You do these things. And I'm like, okay. So, switch this weapon, do this thing. Do you have this weapon? Do you have that and stuff? So, like, having a Sherpa helps. And I think, mind you, like, we may not have a Sherpa for Ghost of Tsushima, but, like, still having a team, like, having, like, people that we know, and even then, we can even get through that, what is it? I think we're on chapter 2, so we could even, like, Sherpa our buddies that we are playing, because this would be their first time. We can even Sherpa them up until the part that we're doing. And like, okay, now we're here. Let's figure this mechanic out and then go from there.
Yeah, let's Sherpa away, whatever it takes. I just want to do it, you know. And then I feel like I can. Once we do that, I feel like I can do the New Game Plus trophy pretty quickly, because of course I have a I guess that's the other big announcement too, is I do have a PlayStation 5 now.
Yeah!
So, yeah, that's kind of important to mention. I've already, main reason I got it actually was for games like Ghost, you know, to play, at a better frame rate, better resolution, everything. So, my very, very short review, I'm very satisfied with the system so far. It's very well done. I like the user interface. I like the speed, the power of it so far. I played the only real exclusive I was interested in was Astro's Playroom. I played for that. I thought that was fantastic. Yeah. So far pretty happy with it. Obviously it just needs games, but I mean it's still, we're only in the first 6 months of its life cycle here. So I know I said I was going to wait on it, but I mean I got it for a good deal. I didn't pay scalper prices for it. I paid normal price for it,
That's
normal
good.
Retail. So I thought it was like, well, you know, what the hell, why not?
Yeah. So yeah, like, mind you, getting a PS5 is still a mess, but that is another topic for another day. But shall we go ahead and begin with what we always begin with?
Yes.
Awesome. This is News of the Nation. Okay. So, let's go ahead and begin. So, we have come to find out. About last year, around December, PlayStation, there was some news revealed that PlayStation is working on not only the Uncharted movie, but they're working on multiple different projects, multiple TV shows, and multiple movies that are using the PlayStation brand for the TV show and movies. So we do have some details on the Last of Us HBO show. So pretty much what it is that the first season is going to adapt the first game, but there will be some episodes that will deviate greatly in some of the episodes. So this is coming from IGN. Quote, The Last of Us is the first of several planned PlayStation adaptations into film and television, with both Ellie and Joel's roles cast. One of the biggest questions remains is that how closely the HBO series will adhere to the original story. Speaking to IGN during South by Southwest 2021, Last of Us game director and show executive producer Neil Druckmann spoke about his showrunner Craig Mazin's approach to adapting the acclaimed game to the TV show. Druckmann speaks, quote, We talked at length that season 1 of the show is going to be the first game, noting that for him and Mazin, the philosophical underpinnings of the story were the essential thing to get right about the adaptation. As far as the superficial things, like should a character wear this same plaid shirt or the same red shirt, they might or might not appear in. That's way less important to us than getting the core of these people are and the core of their journey. He couldn't reveal too much of the exact plans that it would be of how it would play out. He did explain that viewers will certainly recognize some dialogue and be surprised by large parts of episodes. Back to the quote. Druckmann speaks, quote, "Things sometimes stay pretty close. It's funny to see my dialogue there from the games in the HBO scripts, and sometimes they deviate greatly to much better effect because we are dealing with a different medium. For example, in the game, there's so much action you have to train the player about mechanics. You have to have more violence and more spectacle to some degree than you would in a TV show because you don't need to train people on how to use a gun. So that's something that has been really different, and HBO has been great in pushing us to move away from hardcore action and focus more on the drama of the characters. Some of my favorite episodes so far have deviated greatly from the original story, and I cannot wait to see more." And then he really couldn't speak more about the story, but he can't wait to see what happens, of course. So, also, we've come to find out, this was news a little bit before this. So, the roles of both Joel and Ellie have been cast. So, pretty much we have Pedro Pascal, who plays the Mandalorian in The Mandalorian. And then... so we have that, and then we also have, I'm sorry, let me go ahead and pull this up, I apologize. And then we have, for Ellie, where did you get it? Come on now. Oh, and then Bella Ramsey is playing Ellie. So Pedro Pascal from Mandalorian is playing Joel, and Bella Ramsey, who is from Game of Thrones, is playing Ellie. Those are the only two people that have been cast into this movie, and that is it. So, what do you think, Spectre?
I mean, like I said, I'm not the target audience for this by any means. I'm one of the few people that does not care for Last of Us in the least. I think it's one of the most overrated game series. I mean, it's the Metal Gear Solid of the 20 teens. You know, it's overrated. It's everyone seems to universally love this series, and no one can ever really explain why. It's just it's not for me. So I would not imagine that a television show based on this would be my cup of tea either. So I'm totally not the target audience for this. I think you'd have more to say about it than I would, really.
Oh yeah, I mean, for me, I'm excited. This is great. This comes to HBO Max. Another reason to get it outside of like, hey, do you want to watch Godzilla? Do you want to watch all these new movies that are coming out, which is great, and then you have other things. So, I'm excited. I'm really excited, and maybe we'll talk a bit more about it because there's another movie, another PlayStation movie that will be coming out in a bit, but we'll discuss that when we get there. But I'm excited. I'm very excited. Pedro Pascal is great. I love him in Mandalorian. I haven't watched Game of Thrones. So Bella Ramsey, who plays Ellie, I trust the casting for it. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this a lot. I love the original Last of Us game. I think it's one of the best games made. Definitely top 10. I love Last of Us. I love Last of Us, and I've spoken about this multiple times. I even enjoyed Last of Us Part 2, and I know that it's very much you love it or you hate it. There is no in between, and for me, I like it. I see its flaws. The Last of Us Part 2's flaws, but I also kind of, as a whole, I very much enjoyed it. So I'm excited. I'm very much excited for this TV show. But let's move on. Next topic is that PlayStation patents trophies from older generations of PlayStation games. So let me go ahead and pull this up. This also comes from IGN. Sony has patented the ability to add trophies to older emulated games, potentially allowing the rewards to be added to titles that predate the trophy system. The patent was published on March 18th and spotted by the Bartman013 on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit. The patent is described as a, quote, method and apparatus for awarding trophies, and describes how an emulated game could still trigger trophies by, quote, by comparing a memory value of the emulated game to a predetermined value and assigning the one or more trophies to the user based on the detected trophy trigger. The patent's description talks about how the technology will allow Sony to award trophies in previously released or sold video games without modifying the original. Essentially, this could allow for older titles to be retrofitted with trophies so players could earn them in games that predate the feature which was introduced in the PS3. It also mentions that how the system would perform validity checks on the code of older games to determine if criteria has been met to award players with trophies by tracking disk access in game and monitoring strings and frames. It also mentions cloud computing, suggesting this technology could interface with the PlayStation Now service. One of the most interesting parts of the patent is a section which talks about physical rewards. In describing the trophy awarding process, the patent says the following, quote, this may be done by transmitting an electronic trophy or sending a notification that a physical award such as a t-shirt, accessory, or other physical merchandise has been earned by the player. End quote. This isn't the first time that Sony has produced a patent for this kind of thing. As far back as 2013, patents that could add trophies to PS1 and PS2 games, although those were specifically for disc-based games. Given that the tech has never emerged, it may be that this new filing is just an update to the original idea. As always, patents don't necessarily mean that doesn't necessarily mean that a feature is on the way, but it does offer a glimpse as to what the company is considering behind the scenes. So yeah. So, what do you think about that? I know both of us are trophy guys. And also just in the description, there are sources to all of this. So the Reddit that speaks about it, along with the patent about this, is all there. But what do you think, Spectre? What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly fascinating, isn't it? I mean, of course, like I said, you really have to take it with a with a grain of salt. I mean, companies, as you mentioned, companies file patents all the time, like all the time. So there's not, it's not like this is necessarily guaranteed to be anything, substantial.
Yeah.
I mean, it could just be a nothing burger. So I mean, I don't know, but yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting idea. We'll have to see what else comes of it.
I mean, we do have.
I like the idea of. I mean, I like the idea of like physical rewards for trophies and stuff, and that's actually really cool, and that's a neat idea. But I mean, like I said, companies, they file this stuff all the time. So it's hard to get excited over anything until we have like an official announcement of some kind of new feature.
Yeah, I mean, like they kind of technically already have this, like the PS2 to PS4 games, so you can like play games like Bully, the Jak and Daxter games, Red Dead Revolver, The Warriors, Destroy All Humans. There's a bunch of games that are on like a bunch of PS2 to PS4 games that have a trophy list connected to it, where it's just the PS2 game and that. So I was like, don't you already have this? But it might be more of the point of like backwards compatibility, where I have a PS2 game, so I'm gonna go ahead and put I'm gonna play Sly Cooper and put it into my PS4 or PS5. Probably more of the PS5 if you can go backwards all the way back. But let's go ahead and hypothetically say that it can. You put in a PS2 game, and now that PS2 game has a trophy list connected to it, instead of a remastered version or whatever. I'm trying to think Crash Bandicoot, Wrath of Cortex. That's only in PS2. They never remastered that. They never came out, like what if they made a trophy list for that, or Twinsanity, something like that. I would love to see that. That would be really cool. Or like a PS1 game. My God, if they made like trophies for Tomba 2, oh, I'm so in. Or like just the original Spyro, like those kind of stuff. I'm sorry, I have something in my ear. It's my hair.
You good?
Yeah, I was like, why is my hair just like everywhere? But like that would be really, really fun. That would be really, really good, and that would make even more of a reason to go into your backlog or like to play past generation of games, especially if you're a trophy hunter.
Yeah.
So, I think that's great. Let's move on. Next topic is that Reggie Fils-Aimé quits GameStop. Oh boy, GameStop is having a lot of highs and lows this year. Jesus. So again, this comes from IGN. It has been reported that Reggie Fils-Aimé has retired from GameStop's board of directors just 1 year after he joined the company. Reggie is one of 8 directors who are set to retire from the board at GameStop's 2021 annual meeting. The remaining board members will largely be made up of directors relatively new to the board, with many of the company's more established directors leaving along with Reggie Fils-Aimé. Best known as the former Nintendo of America president, Reggie Fils-Aimé joined GameStop's board of directors back in March of last year of 2020. He joined the board at the same time both as veteran retail business executive Bill Simon and PetSmart CEO J.K. Simonak as part of the company's reshuffle. All 3 of them will formally quit the company at the GameStop 2021 annual meeting. So yeah, like we actually talked about this, I believe, on one of our episodes of DualShocked, and God, I very much thought that this would be like great news for GameStop, like having Reggie, who pretty much headed Nintendo during the Wii U, which was next to the Virtual Boy the worst selling console, and Reggie was able to take it from the Wii U to the Switch, because didn't he leave just when the Switch came out back in 2017?
I want to say it was around that time. Yeah. So he was there. He was there for a long time. I mean, between in both kind of successful and kind of dark periods in Nintendo history.
Yeah. But he has done such a great job, so I'm curious of the reasoning why. Like, he's leaving. He could be retiring because I believe that he wanted to retire after he left Nintendo and gave it to Bowser, who is now the head. Not like Bowser the character. I think his name is Jim Bowser. I think his name is, but
yeah, they didn't leave it to Bowser the character.
No, I get you. I'm joking. But they left it to Bowser, who's running Nintendo America, and I feel that he wanted to retire then, but then he kind of just had the itch. I think I could be wrong. And
well, I mean, the thing, it's kind of funny. I mean, when you talk to a lot of people when they retire, or when they get to that age where they're about to retire, it's hard to let it go. I know it's, we're younger, I mean, we're both in our 30s here. So it's the idea of being retired sounds great to us. Like, oh yeah, I'd love to have just time off and not have to work and stuff and do whatever I want. I mean, that sounds great. But once you get to that age, it kind of reverses itself, and it's hard to let it go. I know. That's the case for my mom, definitely. Just it's hard to let go of that. So I mean, you're looking for things to dabble in and things to do. And I mean, it kind of makes sense. I mean, he's successful. He knows his stuff, so it kind of makes sense for him to, want to try out, his hand in GameStop here, and and now he's, who knows what he'll move on to next.
Yeah. I mean, I wish him all the best, and You know, there's like 8 directors leaving, so it's going to be like more of the new guys, which could be a good thing. This could be a good thing, but even with GameStop, like GameStop is people's opinion of GameStop is very much the people don't like GameStop. There's weirdly, I very much have no aggressive bad feelings towards GameStop or whatever. So I don't know. I guess we could see what happens. I mean, mind you, back in like what was it, February, March, we had the whole people were buying stock of GameStop, and it was shooting up because it was they wanted to screw with Wall Street because Wall Street was screwing with GameStop by what was it, underselling or I can't remember because this was a while ago.
Yeah, they were short selling it, and yeah, it was this kind of this big kind of wild thing that was going on. Yes.
Yep, that was it. So, I guess we'll see what happens. Mind you, during that time when the whole just GameStop stock was going crazy, that was a very interesting time. I very much was following all of that, and I was like, "What is happening? What is this?" So.
Yeah, no, I you know, like I said, the tragic thing for me with that was I was so close to just investing some money into it before, and I missed the boat on it, and it sucked. I was so close to putting some money down and getting some stock, and nothing like, not a crazy amount, but I was gonna probably put like maybe 1,000 or so in, and you know, that would have just translated into just a crazy amount of money now. But I missed the boat on it, so what can you do? You know,
I mean,
there's no way we ever could have predicted that.
No, God, no. I mean, again, I don't understand stocks and stuff. I am not good with numbers and math. So it was one of those like, oh, I should have done this. Like, and it is what it is. And I guess we'll see what the future holds for GameStop. But I don't see GameStop leaving anytime soon.
Yeah. No.
But let's move on. Next topic is that a Ghost of Tsushima movie is being made. So back on topic with the PlayStation or Sony using their PlayStation brands to make movies and TV shows. This one I think you'll be looking forward to, Spectre. So, from the PlayStation blog, Sucker Punch Productions provides first details on the Sony Pictures film being directed by Chad Stahelski. This is from the PlayStation blog. Quote, "A Ghost of Tsushima movie is in the works. The idea of translating our game into a new medium is exciting, and we're intrigued by the possibilities. We've all been brought to tears in movie theaters surrounded by strangers, in parentheses, thanks a lot, E.T. We've all gone to a movie opening night when the crowd is so excited and they cheer as the lights go down. It's a group experience that isn't replicated anywhere else. To think that we could sit down in a movie theater to watch someday, watching Jin Sakai up on the big screen is amazing. We'd all relive his tense transformation into the ghost from a whole new vantage point. We are happy to partner with Sony Pictures to make this happen, and Jin is in very good hands with the film's director, Chad Stahelski, which created something special with John Wick. His vision of what this could be, backed up by years of experience, combined to create some of the finest action scenes we ever created. If anyone could bring to life the razor-sharp tensing of Jin's katana combat, it would be Chad. Also, I'm happy to say that we've sold more than 6.5 million copies of Ghost of Tsushima now, and that roughly half of those people have made it all the way through the game. So they've beaten it. And then he talks about how, as the newly appointed ambassador of the real Island Tsushima, he'd like to say visit. I'd like to formally say visit when it's safe to, if you get the chance. The island is beautiful, the people are warm, and the history is all around you. If you're lucky to spot a Tsushima cat. So he's pretty much just going like, awesome, this is awesome, thank you. There's also an article from Deadline, which is pretty much very much talking about this. This breaks from Deadline, and then the PlayStation blog kind of is like confirming this. So this is exclusive from Deadline, but pretty much it continues about how Sucker Punch is doing this. So pretty much what it is that you have Chad, who pretty much who was part of the creation of John Wick. You also have Alex Young and Jason Spitzer producing through their company 8711 Entertainment. Assad Kizilbosh and Carter Swan will produce on behalf of the PlayStation Productions. Sucker Punch Productions will serve as executive producers. Peter Kang is overseeing the project on behalf of the studio. And then it talks about how excited they are, so on and so on. And then it talks about how Ghost of Tsushima is PS4's fastest selling first party original IP debut, so on and so on. So Zelensky is about to start shooting John Wick 4 after directing the first 3 films. The films have become a massive box office success, surpassing $600 million worldwide. So, what do you think about a Ghost of Tsushima movie made by the guy who has directed John Wick?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan in general of video game movies. I really don't think they work. I think there's very few.
I almost thought you were going to say I'm not a fan of John Wick, and I'd be like, that's blasphemy.
No, John Wick's okay. I like John Wick. I just can't really think of any examples of video game movies that have done well or have been, good representations of the game. I mean, there's been a couple that have been okay. Like I enjoyed the Warcraft movie. I enjoyed the original '90s Mortal Kombat movie. But I mean,
I don't know, man. Like Rampage was great. Rampage was awesome. And this Mortal Kombat movie that's coming out looks awesome.
I mean, they're universally bad. They just don't usually work out well at all. I mean, I'm always, in the market for a film that really works, but you don't really see them at all. They just don't really materialize. But yeah, I mean, it sounds like they got a good director behind it. They got, I mean, it's a great world and story they could potentially tell. But I mean, we'll see what kind of budget they come up with. We'll see how it actually turns out. I don't know. I'm pessimistic about it. I just don't think it's going to be that good. I'm sorry.
Well, I am optimistic about this movie because, so you have the director of John Wick, which John Wick is phenomenal, especially when it comes to the action scenes in the John Wick movies. Like, the way they're shot, the way they're done is spectacular. It's almost otherworldly, in my opinion. And the way it's done and how everything's explained, and the world building that has been done in John Wick is nuts. So I believe this is in very good hands with Chad being the one who's directing, and then you still have the guys who made the game as executive producers who are able to be a part of this, which they did a phenomenal job with this game. And you and I have talked about in our Ghost of Tsushima review, and otherwise, including on our Game of the Year of 2020, like, the combat is some of the most fun combat to play in a video game. And that's a bit massive selling point of Ghost of Tsushima, is that. And I think that Chad will pay attention to the detail, not only of the game, but also of the heritage, the culture of Tsushima during that time. And I'm so excited. I think this is great that PlayStation is kind of redoing, because they had the Ratchet and Clank movie came out back in 2016, which was a bust. That movie is and now they're kind of like that. Now you have Uncharted that's coming out, and I very much hope that this is good. Mind you, they've been wanting to do an Uncharted movie for years. So I will say that, the Uncharted movie, I'm looking forward to the Uncharted movie, but I have my reservations of the Uncharted movie. But the Last of Us show and Ghost of Tsushima especially, I am very excited for. And I very much have enjoyed video game movies. Like, you and I went to go see the Warcraft movie when it came out, and we enjoyed it. And I very much do think that, the Warcraft movie is a movie built for fans, more than, attracting people from outside, because there's a lot of references that if you don't play the game you won't understand. But it's very it's very vague. There's other movies like Assassin's Creed. I enjoyed it as a fan. It has a lot of problems. Like, I'm not gonna go ahead and be like, it's amazing. Like, no, it has a lot of problems, and there's other ways that could have been done. Like, all the exposition is done in the present, and then all the action scenes are done in the past, which I was like, what are you doing? Tomb Raider is fine. Actually, the 90s Tomb Raider is fun. And then the, I think it came out in 2018, 2019 Tomb Raider. That was fine. Rampage is so fun. Rampage is based off of the old arcade game. And yeah, you have The Rock, you have Dwayne Johnson, you have Dwayne The Rock Johnson in it. And really, it's not about telling the video game. Mind you, how do you tell a video game about a big, huge gorilla fighting a big, huge wolf bat? So they kind of made their own story, and you still have the scenes. You have both of them climbing up towers and fighting each other, and you want to watch a big kaiju movie, like it's a big monster fight kaiju movie. Like, Rampage is fun. So there have been good, if not fun, video game movies. Even Mortal Kombat. Like, Mortal Kombat is like a memeable movie. It's bad, but it's bad in the fun way. Like, even like, people make fun of the Super Mario movie that came out in like the early 90s. It's really bad, but it's so bad that it's funny. But what we're seeing now with video game movies today is that they're very much taken more seriously. Like, this Mortal Kombat movie, oh my god, I cannot wait. I am so excited for this Mortal Kombat movie. And they're very much like, we're just going to take the characters, we're going to take their, the character, the characteristics of them, we're going to tell a story, but we're going to kind of tell our own story, and it looks really good.
Yeah. No.
Alright then. I guess we'll agree to disagree. Alrighty. Let's move on. Next topic is that we had the BAFTA Game Awards happen. Which pretty much the BAFTA Game Awards is pretty much the British Academy Game Awards. So they had a bunch of announcements pretty much that happened throughout this past week. And we have the winners of all this. So we'll go ahead and go through this. So Last of Us Part 2 won Best Animation. Hades won Artistic Achievement. Ghost of Tsushima won Audio Achievement. Hades won Best Game. Sackboy: A Big Adventure won Best British Game. I'm surprised that's a category. But anyway, Carrion won Best Debut Game. Sea of Thieves won Best Evolving Game. Sackboy: Big Adventure won Best Family Game. Hades won Best Game Design. Animal Crossing: New Horizons won Best Game Beyond Entertainment. Animal Crossing: New Horizons also won Best Multiplayer. Marvel Spider-Man: Miles Morales won Best Music. Hades won Best Narrative. Kentucky Route Zero, the TV edition, won Best Original Property. Laura Bailey, who played the role of Abby, who won Best Performer in a Leading Role. Logan Cunningham, who plays Hades himself, won Performer in a Supporting Role. And Dreams won Best Technical Achievement. And The Last of Us Part 2 won EE Game of the Year. And EE Game of the Year is pretty much like the viewer's choice from the Game Awards. So Hades took, what is it, 1, 2... I think they took the most. 1, 2, 3, 4 awards, where Last of Us Part 2 walked away with 3. And then Animal Crossing, I believe, took 2. Sackboy took 2. So yeah, what do you think?
I mean, I just a bunch of don't care. I don't really care about the game, BAFTAs and stuff like that. Just it's, I mean, I'm trying to think if there's anything in there I even like remotely even cared about. I didn't really play Hades at all. I don't really care for the developer. Um, what else was in there? Sackboy. I don't really care about.
Ghost of Tsushima won best audio achievement, so it has the best overall, like it's music, it's voice acting, it's like overall audio.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense, you know. But yeah, I mean nothing. It's kind of like the Oscars. Like it's like who really cares anymore, you know? It's kind of whatever. I mean, at least I'll give the Game Awards this. At least the Game Awards has like usually a slew of announcements behind it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I mean the BAFTAs. It's just like I mean it's just like a snooze fest for me personally. So.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm sorry. I can't really muster up any kind of like care for it. You know, I don't think I think in general, if you ask, you know, 9 out of 10 players about, oh, you see who won the BAFTAs for the games and blah blah blah, they'd be like, what are you talking about? Who cares?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I will definitely say that Hades. I've played Hades, and Hades is a phenomenal game. Oh my god, it's so much fun. And they took away with the most. They won best game, and I very much agree. Like Hades is phenomenal. Best game is hard. Best game is hard because last year like Hades was definitely up there. Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima. Like we gave it Ghost of Tsushima for our game of the year. But yeah, I mean this is like it's good to hear because this is from like the UK. Like what did they think and stuff. So I think that's really cool. But let's move on. Good for you. So let's move on. Next topic is that Darby McDevitt is leaving Ubisoft. So Darby McDevitt, who has been the lead writer for a lot of the past Assassin's Creed games, including Valhalla. So he's worked on Valhalla, Black Flag, Revelations, and much, much more. He is now leaving Ubisoft after 10 years. On his Twitter, pretty much he shared the news on his personal Twitter account. He said, "Today is my last day at Ubisoft Montreal. After a decade of working with brilliant people, creating stories and characters for an incredible series, and interacting with our wonderful fans, I've decided to set forth on a new adventure. A special thanks to all the fans and content creators that have supported and expanded on our work over the years. Thank you for your kind attention. You have my deepest respect and admiration. It has been an honor of a lifetime to get to know so many of you." So yeah, he has worked on he's worked on extensive credits on the Assassin's Creed franchise. He served as scriptwriter for mobile games like Discovery on the DS and Bloodlines on the PSP, and is credited as lead writer on the canceled 3DS game Assassin's Creed Lost Legacy as well. He was also got credits as lead writer of Revelations and Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, along with being the co-writer of Assassin's Creed Unity, and his final credit was narrative director of Valhalla. Which is just amazing. Like, Black Flag is one of the best Assassin's Creed games out there. Revelations is fantastic. Yeah, so I wish him all the best of luck, and I guess we'll see how Ubisoft will do with this happening. What do you think, Spectre?
It's hard for me to care at all. Like,
God, Jesus! What?
It's like he's like a literal who? Like, what has he done?
Oh,
like, I've already forgotten what you said.
Oh man,
I've already forgotten what you said. That's how little I care.
Darby McDevitt
has a bunch of Assassin's Creed like minor titles that nobody played. I mean, it's just like, I'm sorry. It's just like, that's like saying the janitor.
No. He worked on the big ones. He worked on Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, which is amazing. He worked on Revelations. The last thing he did was the narrative director. So he pretty much like directed the story of Valhalla. Like he's a massive part of the Assassin's Creed like series.
I'll just say, like I said, I Assassin's Creed, you know, like, so my short rant on that is I had high hopes for it when it first came out, way back in '07, I think was the first game. Disappointed me. It was not what I hoped it would be. I was hoping for a fun action stealth game, kind of like a medieval version of Hitman, and that's not what we got at all. We got some kind of weird sci-fi, bizarre action game. It wasn't horrible, but then after that, it just kept on getting worse and worse and worse with each title. I stopped playing after, I think, what was the fourth game, Revelations. I could not care less about Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed, I know that, like I said, I know that cuts you a bit, because it's like, I know you love Assassin's Creed, but they could stop making Assassin's Creed games right now, and I would not shed a single tear. So I'm just not the person to talk to about Assassin's Creed. I have no idea how relevant or important this guy was. But for me, it's just kind of white noise. I could not care less about an Assassin's Creed writer or director.
Jesus, like, just, man, dude, like, I don't care.
I'm not the type to fake, you know what I mean, like, enthusiasm for something.
Well, I mean, again, I asked for your opinion. I got your opinion. I'm not gonna go ahead and be like, no, you're wrong. But like,
you're damn right, you got my opinion. He's good. I don't say that to be mean or to be, I'm coming from a place of, I couldn't care less. I'm sorry.
That would be like if you were like oozing all over like World of Warships. It's not my thing. I personally don't care.
Oh yeah, that'd be like if I said like, like one of the lead designers for it left or something like that. You would just be like, what? I have no idea what you're talking about.
I mean, like I would be like, oh, that sucks, but that would be about it.
Yeah, I do have sympathy in regards to, I know it's a game that you like. I mean, for your sake, I have sympathy, but yeah, for me, I could not care less. I'm sorry.
I mean, Darby McDevitt, like, for me, like, he was a part of some of the best Assassin's Creed games in the franchise. As I said, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag is definitely up there. My personal favorite, like, the apex best Assassin's Creed game, in my opinion, is Brotherhood. But, like, he was a part of the narrative. He wrote that. He was part of Valhalla. Like, I very much hope that whoever is going to be kind of like leading the narrative of the Assassin's Creed franchise currently will do better. Now, mind you, I have very much my gripes of the more modern Assassin's Creed games, like Odyssey. And like Valhalla is a bit better. But, its gameplay I feel like is getting in its own way. But also the lore is all kinds of messed up too. Again, there's a lot of stuff with the Assassin's Creed lore and stuff that I very much have my own opinions on, and maybe I should like talk about that at a later point. But yeah, this sucks. But I hope that he very much like joins a new studio, whether he makes his own or he joins an indie developer or he like joins another AAA developer and does amazing work there. That would be awesome. And that is all the news. So, shall we go ahead and go into our main topic?
We can go into anything as long as we're not talking about Assassin's Creed writers leaving.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about Assassin's Creed 2, and then we'll talk about Brotherhood and then Revelations, and then we'll go ahead and do from there. Let's just go ahead and do a whole timeline of that. Nah, I'm kidding. Let's begin. This is our PlayStation conversation. PlayStation. Alrighty then. So, this has kind of been big news from the week. This happened like pretty much early last week. So let's go ahead and kind of begin where this report came from. So the report comes from the site called thegamer.com. I've never heard of this site. I have no idea what like this is or whatever. It's not Polygon, it's not the big one. So but they have reported that the
your source is trust me, bro. basically.
I
No,
get.
I'm just kidding. No, it's the only the reason I believe this too. I should preface this all. The reason I believe this rumor too is because it is so widely circulated. Normally, I don't think you and I would be one to jump on rumors, but I think it's safe to say this is a little more than a rumor. It's kind of in between a rumor and soft confirmed.
So yeah, let me go ahead and go through kind of these articles, and then we can kind of discuss that. So the Gamer reports that the PS3, the PS Vita, and the PSP stores will be permanently closed in a few months. It says in the article, it begins, the PS3, the PS Vita, and the PlayStation Portable stores aren't long for this world. According to a source familiar with the situation, verified by the Gamer, the stores are due to be closed down from July. The announcement is planned for the end of this month, which the end of this month would be at the end of March. PSPs and PS3 stores are to be closed on July 2nd, while the PS Vita store will stay open until August 27th. After those dates, you will no longer be able to purchase digital copies of games or DLC for any of the Sony consoles mentioned. The PS3 released in November of 2006, so it's going through the history of PS3 sold 87 million units during its lifetime. The PSP enjoyed similar success, selling 81 million units since its release in March of 2005. But the Vita was a flop. Sony's second-hand handheld was released in December of 2011, sold between 10 to 15 million units across its lifetime, so on and so on. And yeah, so pretty much all it says from this article, and this is the original article, that a source familiar with the situation, and it's a source that the Gamer knows, that's why it's verified. The stores are due to be closed down in July, so on and so on. So I'm like, okay, because I remember I woke up Monday or whatever, and I saw this just kind of circulating on the internet. I was like, what is this? So I went ahead and dug deeper. So I was like, okay, let me look into this. So Polygon adds to the report. So they say PS3 Vita stores will close for good this summer. And so Polygon goes, this is the article from Polygon. It goes, a report published Monday saying that the PlayStation store for the PS3, Vita, and PSP will be closed in July and August, pretty much reciting what the Gamer said. Pretty much Polygon has reached out to Sony representatives for additional information. No reply was made at publication time. This article was published on March 22nd of 2021. They are accessible. The only way and we've talked about is right now the only way you can get those games is on their own separate stores. Now it does talk about how the closure of the PlayStation Store presents more of an issue for Vita users, considering that how many of the platform's notable games were indie developed and sold online. Direct backward compatibility with PS3 from PS4 and PS5 is not available on Xbox, but PS4 ports of some PS3 games are available from separate products, and still other PS3 and PS2 games are streamable to modern consoles from the PlayStation Now service. So Polygon says that. So their sources, they went ahead and reached out to Sony. Sony said nothing. Destructoid. So they go ahead and repeat the same thing from the Gamer. They're talking about all of that kind of thing. Let's see. They go ahead and say pretty much, let's see. They continue talking about the Gamer article. It isn't clear at the time of writing whether owners will still have the option to delete or re-download their previously purchased titles at will once the supposed closure takes place. In essence, yeah. So Polygon didn't. I'm sorry, not Polygon. Destructoid pretty much is reporting on the thing. I'm trying to see if they reached out to their sources, but it looks like they did not reach out to Sony. So let's continue. So Destructoid is just kind of repeating what the Gamer said. Games Radar. They also talk about this. It's all around the same time. It's all during the same day. So they go ahead and repeat the article. And again, at the bottom of the article, it says the specifics of the timeline are unofficial. So for now, just hope for the best while preparing for the worst. We've reached out to Sony for comments, and we'll update our reporting when we hear back. So they haven't heard anything. So, and then last I have, these are the 4 that I have found. Eurogamer, let me go ahead and quickly pull this up. So Eurogamer, of course, again, repeats the Gamer article. And then at the end of the article, it says, we've contacted Sony to see if any comment on the report prior to then. And they haven't heard anything from it. So Sony has been dead quiet about this. And people are freaking out. Like, I very much do know that people have been buying games on the Vita and the PS3 and PSP, like, on their own stores. Also, like, Colin Moriarty from Last Stand Media, he is also working on a game, on games that come to the Vita, because he's a fan of the Vita also. So he had Helbraxa 2 come out. I believe, what was the other game? It was, I actually bought it. I bought this game that's really, really fun. It was, yes, here we go. Twin Breaker. This game, pretty much a Sacred Symbols adventure, Twin Breaker. Fantastic game. It's very much like very arcadey, very good. And this is, I also have this game on the Vita. And it kind of puts up kind of a problem, not only with, like, okay, what about all these indie games and all these, like, JRPGs that come out digitally for the Vita, especially the Vita, but, like, also about keeping video game history, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. So wait, were you kind of leading to a point there? Or?
No. I wanted to leave it at that, so that way you could go in and kind of talk about this.
I wasn't sure if you were leading.
No. I wanted to leave it there. I'll explain my point, but I want your opinion before we continue.
Yeah. So I mean, really, I don't know. I had kind of mixed feelings about this just in general right away. I mean, I think we knew this was kind of. Like I said, let's move forward, I think, with the assumption that this is true, that this is actually happening.
Yeah.
I think we all knew this was inevitable. This was going to happen sooner or later. I think really when I look at, like, the PS3, for example, or the PSP, I mean, I think their time has come. I mean, PS3, it's been out since 2006, and the store has been up the whole time. PSP, around that same era as well too. I think they've had their time. If anything, the Vita feels more like this is that one feels premature. I mean, the Vita just turned, I think, 10. I mean, it's a legacy console. It's discontinued. I understand that, but it does still get new games from, like, as you mentioned, from a variety of sources. It feels a little premature to pull the trigger on the Vita. So I think that's just kind of my initial thoughts when I first heard this announcement. I'm like, okay, well, I can appreciate, I can understand where they're coming from with shutting down the PS3 and stuff in the PSP. I'm not one of those that thought they were just going to keep this up forever. I knew this was going to happen eventually. I understand from a business standpoint why they would, they don't want to devote resources to it. I mean, the servers don't stay up for free. And from their perspective, if there's no reason to keep these up anymore, then it's a business decision to shut it down. But obviously, I mean, you're kind of bringing up some things there about, I mean, obviously there's concerns about, how does this bode for future purchases? Like, I mean, basically, I mean, I guess for me, the reason why I'm not in the, the pitchforks camp about it and really, distressed about it to a large degree is because I guess when I buy digital games, my logic is it's different than when I buy, like, a physical game, or something like that. I see digital games as kind of a glorified rental, and I treat them as such. I mean, even back when there was only, before digital games, we had rentals. Rentals, you could go to Blockbuster or whatever and rent a game, or Redbox. And I mean, nobody ever had a problem with that, and I think digital for me is sort of the modern equivalent of that. I see it largely as renting, which is usually why I almost never, except in very rare cases, pay full price for a digital game. Usually, it's I would look for like a discounted game, or preferably a game that's under $15 or $20. I think that's in a reasonable range for a digital game. You know, paying $60 full price for a digital game is a pretty rare occurrence for me. It's not something I really do. So from that perspective, I mean, like I said, I kind of see these all as sort of a glorified rental. I'm not that freaked out about losing access to the store. But I mean, for me, I don't know about you, but I just have questions, which is why I really want Sony to come out and confirm or deny these rumors. I mean, just to go down the list, for a couple of things really quickly here, and I'll let you kind of get your thoughts in too.
Yeah, go ahead.
For one, I think the first thing on our mind is, okay, we understand you're closing the store, but what about our purchases that are already in? Can we still re-download games that we've already purchased, or is that going away too completely? So that's a pretty important question right there, right off the bat.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, you would think from a money making standpoint, like hopefully you'd still be able to access it because. I mean, I know I would go on there and probably buy a couple of things right away, right now, just to play later and kind of store away for later. Especially on the Vita, there's a bunch of games I was thinking of getting, but I would be far more hesitant to do that if I knew I couldn't re-download them again, and I'm only one wiped memory card away from losing them forever.
Yep.
So I need to have that question answered. What's going to happen with PS Plus games? Are we going to lose access to those? Is there going to be an update for those so we can still access those even without the internet? So that's another question right there. How are patches going to be impacted? Are we still going to have patches for games? Can we still download patches for games to update them, or is that going away as well too? What about add-on content as well? Are we going to be able to re-download that? I know a big issue. A big issue for you and me, especially as trophy people, is how will this affect trophies? Can I still unlock trophies? I mean, obviously you can still unlock trophies no matter what, because trophies are stored on the hard drive initially, at least. They're stored on the console side of it. But will I be able to upload those trophies to my PSN account? Will I still have will we still have access to do that? Because otherwise it kind of defeats the purpose. Like, I mean, you can unlock trophies on your game even when you're off the internet, but if you're not able to connect to your account, you'll never be able to update your account. So it's kind of like it never happened.
Exactly.
So I think I have a bunch of questions. I think a lot of people have a bunch of questions here, and the responses to those questions are going to kind of impact my reaction to all this. I don't know. What are your thoughts on all of that? I know it's a lot of stuff I threw at you.
No, it's okay. Actually, you brought up a lot of points that I was probably going to bring up also. For me, like, I very much buy physical games. I have actually, like, for instance, I'll use an example. So, for instance, the Star Wars Jedi Knight 2 and Jedi Academy, these two games came out on the PS4, and they came out digitally only. And I was like, all right, I know Limited Run is going to make a version. I'll just wait until they do a physical one. And then they did, and I bought it. It's in my hands. So I very much am more of a physical guy. But there are some digital games on the PS3, on the Vita, on the PSP, that you can only get digitally, especially indie games, especially like that, especially on the Vita, like indie games, that kind of stuff. And I don't like it. I agree. If you kill the store, how do you download stuff you've already bought? How can you get DLC for that? How do trophies work? Because how do we link them up? If there's no store, how do you connect it to that? All of those kind of things, and I don't understand why PlayStation is being so quiet about this. The reason why I very much think that this is more of a rumor, is like, again, this is like something where it's like, it's just out of the blue. The gamer says it's verified by a source, Is someone familiar with the situation? And look, I understand, like, you can't, like, if it has to be anonymous, because if you put a name or whatever, they could lose their job or something like that. Like, I understand, fine. It has, like, an anonymous source, that's fine. But then why is it that only The Gamer, that site, which I've never heard of, I'm like, who are you? Like, what? And so their source is the only one that they can verify. Or, like, I'm surprised that they, like, Polygon or Eurogamer, like, there is not even an article on IGN. I was actually surprised. I thought every big video game outlet would be talking about this, but there is no article from IGN about this. At least not to my knowledge, or that I could find. Not even from GameSpot. Like, GameSpot is not talking about this. It's like, or wait, let me see. I'm sorry. Let me make sure I have my sources. Yeah, it's Polygon, Destructoid, Games Radar, and Eurogamer were the 4 that I could find of, like, the big name people. So, like, GameSpot hasn't talked about this. So, I don't know. This does, like, I can see why people could be like, oh, this is a real thing, because it's 06 is when the PS3 came out, and the PSP is almost just as old. Who plays those? Who uses it? Like, I mean, I still use my PS3. I still play on my PS3 every so often. But I don't like this, and I think PlayStation should very much come out, and regardless whether they say yes or no, they need to just come out ahead of this, and, like, we have to wait until the end of the month. And I guess we'll find out. I guess we'll see, because we are near the end of the month right now. And if by Monday, which would be we record this on the 27th, and then let's say on the 29th of March, which is when this episode goes live on YouTube, if there's a report out talking about this, then fine. But, like, I guess we'll see near the end of the month if this thing is true, because it says that Sony will talk about this at the end of this month, at the end of March, and I guess we'll find out. But I also, even if that is true, which, I'm kind of going with the assumption that it is, what about all the digital games that are just going to be gone? Like the PS3 digital, all the indie games. Like, I guess this is also a discussion about keeping video game history, and especially we have kind of come into this modern time where games are being bought more digitally than physically, because of where we are. But unlike the music industry, which I feel like the music industry, which is now, like, almost all digital, there's, like, you have to go to your local mom and pop shop to go ahead and buy a physical disc. Target may have, like, they'll only have the most recent albums out, only as, like, to make it easy for people or whatever. But, like, everyone buys digitally. I don't remember the last CD I bought physically. I go ahead and stream it from my phone or whatever. So, but the music industry does a better job of keeping their music, where the video game industry does a very poor job of doing that. And the only people who are trying to keep the history of video games and like hey, that kind of stuff are fans. I don't get it. I don't understand why. I mean, I guess I can. I guess, and then right now I'm kind of, like, thinking out loud. Like, I get it. It's old, from, like, it's a 10-plus-year-old system, but there's too many questions that are left unanswered for us to know what to do about this. And yeah, by hearing this, it does make me go, oh crap, I need to go on my PS3, go to the store, find out what games I want to buy, and then just buy them. Like,
well, I think actually that's a good thing to bring up. I think before anybody starts panic buying or going nuts about this, I think it's worth waiting. Hopefully we get a response by the end of the month here, which is coming up really soon. I hope we get a response, and then from there kind of make your decisions. I mean, it's a couple of things to keep in mind. Just because kind of a word of caution too for everybody. Sort of a PSA part of it is, just because you've downloaded games to your hard drive, or let's assume it's the worst case scenario. Let's assume that you won't be able to re-download games, and the store will be shut down, and they're gone forever.
Yeah,
essentially,
like PT,
Yeah. Just because you've downloaded them to your hard drive doesn't mean that your hard drive's going to last forever. There's internal clock issues with the PS3 and also the PlayStation 4 that could potentially cause some errors and problems as well too. So I mean, don't look at it as a thing where it's just because you download it to your hard drive, it's going to be around forever. Now I think sort of the silver lining here. I'll talk about the good part of this here too. The part that's, well, not the good part, but the part that maybe can alleviate some of the fear here. Obviously, there's always going to be an active homebrew and hacking market. Especially when systems become kind of phased out. That's kind of when hacking, and I mean the stuff that people can do to like a Nintendo Wii, or other systems, or 3DS, and kind of the hacking they can do, and all the cool things you can add on to it. It's pretty staggering. So I'm sure people, you're always going to have like that element of it there. It's not like your PS3 is going to become a brick, or your Vita is going to become a brick. There's always going to be things you can do with it. But yeah, I think, in terms of, I mean, I know you and I don't really get into the hacking scene ourselves. We tend to play our consoles. We play our consoles legit because we go after trophies and things like that. So that's what I really want to know. I think that here's kind of my dream outcome. So obviously, they're going to shut down the stores. I totally understand that. I get that. I think the Vita is premature, but I understand PS3 and PSP especially. So I understand that, but what I would like to have happen is that we can re-download our purchase content, that we have access to our PS Plus games permanently. And that we are still able to download patches for games. We're still able to unlock trophies and upload them onto our PSN profiles through PS3 and Vita as well. And basically, they shut down the store, and we can still have access to everything beyond that. And then at that point, what I would do is just I would purchase all the games I would ever intend of playing, go on a little bit of a mini shopping spree, and then I would be pretty comfortable after that. I'm like, okay, well, I have everything I'd want to own. If there's other things I want to own, there's always physical games, of course, too. And and go from there. That's the outcome I hope, and I think that's the best outcome for everybody, that it causes the least harm. But I mean, who knows? We don't know how this is going to work out, because I mean, I understand shutting down a store, but I would hate to see our access to games taken away. And I think they have to think from a brand standpoint as well too. Like if they go that route where you're not going to have access to games anymore,
that's horrible.
Then well, it's horrible, but also think about it from a forward-thinking perspective. Are you really going to be incentivized to download games on your PlayStation 5 or your PlayStation 4? Knowing that one day they might just do the same thing to them, or likely will, take the axe to them. So I think they have to think about that. I mean, this isn't just about the PS3 or the Vita or the PSP.
No, not at all.
It's also about the future. It's also about the future of the systems as well too. And I mean, like I said, none of these, from a preservationist perspective, none of these games are really disappearing. I mean, there's always the homebrew and hacking market. It's more so about our purchases on these digital stores actually worth something. And like I said, for me, my philosophy is I see them as a glorified rental, but at the same time, I think I've become a lot more hesitant to buy digital games just in general again if I know that eventually they're just going to disappear, unless it's just like a disposable game that I don't ever intend on playing again. Then maybe that's a different story. But I think this has repercussions that reverberate beyond just these systems.
So
it's like, so I think they're probably weighing that up right now. It's a decision that they're making. We'll see what they decide to do. Because like I said, it's going to have an impact on things going beyond this as well too.
And the other thing is, like, so if that's the case, like, the thing is, Xbox is very much going like, backwards compatible, OG Xbox 360, Xbox One, you can play all that on your Series X, all of it. And like there was like the news this past week, we talk about PlayStation, but like now it's not called Xbox Live, it's called the Xbox Network. Which I was like, oh, interesting. But Xbox is doing a way better job of keeping its history, and PlayStation's history is much more rich and much deeper. Like, it's almost as deep as Nintendo when it comes to, like, their IPs and stuff. And if you go, yeah, you can't download them or add it, that's going to hurt. Because then people are going to go, well, then I'm just going to go ahead and get an Xbox then. At least I can keep my stuff on the Xbox network instead of on the PSN. Because of that. So no, I agree. The only thing I could think of is that also PlayStation announced like last week or a few weeks ago that PlayStation Video, they're going to be shutting that down because they're finding out that really they're not making enough, like people aren't buying movies now. Everyone has Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, HBO Max, and all other freaking streaming service on the history of the universe. So like, streaming is now the big thing. Why buy a movie when I can go ahead and like watch it on Netflix, watch it on Hulu, watch it on Disney Plus, so on and so on. So they're taking that down, but what they have said is that any movie or TV show or anything that you have bought from a PlayStation Video, you still keep. You get to access them, you can watch them, it's still there, but you can no longer purchase. So they're not shutting down the store, it's just that whatever you have already bought, you get to keep. But you can't buy anything else. So they're not going to be getting any more new seasons of whatever show. So like The Flash or, Arrow or whatever, just for example. Or not Arrow, Arrow's done. But whatever, you get my point. Flash, Supergirl, whatever. You won't be getting new seasons of shows. And you won't be getting new movies. So you won't be able to get Godzilla vs. King Kong. You won't be able to get the Mortal Kombat movie. Whatever. So the only thing I can think of is like that, which is what they should do. Fine, you're going to shut off the PlayStation Store. Fine. I don't agree with it. I think that you can't just have it up. Like, yeah, not a lot of people are doing it because they have a PS4 or a PS5. More of a PS4 because PS5s are hard to get. But, like, regardless, that's still money hitting your pocket regardless. Even if it's a small amount now. Because people aren't doing it. But yes, I agree. Like with the Vita especially. There's tons of developers who are making games for the Vita. And they're digital only. And now it's like, now what do we do? Like, we were going to put out this game and now, like, this is happening? How now we, like, and if the developer doesn't have the assets, the revenue to be able to make a physical version of the game. Like, they're very much kind of budgeted for, like, all right, we're going to make a game. Our budget equals making the game, finishing it, having it go gold, and then putting it out digitally. And then make the money, and then recoup the money back off of the digital purchase. Like, you shut down the store, how are you going to, are people going to buy these Vita games? Especially now, you can't access Vita games from anywhere outside of the Vita system itself. Because that's how you do it. You can't do it from the PlayStation website. You can't do it. You can't buy games from the PS4 or the PS5 on Vita or whatever. They're very much limited to its own console. So, like, everything is messed up, and this is ridiculous. Like, I get what you mean by, like, what you said, and I agree with it. But I don't think this is a good idea at all. Of shutting down the PSP, the PS3, and the Vita store. At all. You can leave it up. Who cares?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm really curious what the cost is. I mean, obviously it's not free.
Of
Otherwise,
course.
if it was free, they would just keep it up forever. There would be literally no downside to keeping it up. So, I mean, there's a server cost associated with this. And, I mean, they must be deciding, there must be some sort of, threshold they've reached where the profit, what little profit they make off of these stores now, is not worth the server maintenance cost of keeping these services alive. And we kind of already saw the beginnings of that with, like, before we were talking about the PlayStation 4 communities being shut down.
Yeah.
Just because it's a resource that requires server maintenance and which requires money. So. They've probably decided that they've reached a threshold where this just it's just not worth keeping up anymore. So I understand that element of it, but like I said, it's just this can do harm to a brand. I mean,
Yeah.
I understand. I think this is sort of like another way to think about this too. As I sort of understand where they're coming from. This is kind of like the last nail in the coffin for the PlayStation 3, PSP, Vita era. Really, it's like this is closing the door on that. The PlayStation 4 is a different case. It's fully integrated basically with the PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
It's basically de facto 100% backwards compatible. Even most of the accessories are backwards compatible on the PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think from in terms of PlayStation 4 backwards compatibility going forward, I think that should have some pretty long legs to it. I think.
I agree.
But I think just the PS3, the Vita, and the PSP are just too different, and they this is kind of their way to kind of divorce themselves from these things. I mean, they kind of close the door on these things. But yeah, I would hope that the way they do this is kind of like how I described. It's I don't think that would be the end of the world. I mean, if I know a lot of games are only available on the store, they weren't released physically, especially on the Vita, for example. But I mean, I understand kind of shutting these down. I mean, they kind of with the exception of the Vita, I think they've all kind of had their time. I mean, the PlayStation 3 store has been up for 15 years. That's a very long time.
Yeah.
If I mean, to put it in perspective, if the PlayStation 4 store lasts 15 years, then we're still going to see PlayStation 4 games on, up and running on the PlayStation 4 store through 2028.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty long time. That's a pretty and Sony's actually had kind of a history of supporting their consoles for a very long life cycle.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't really think they're pulling out too early, with maybe the exception of the Vita. But yeah, I hope that they, just as a customer, as someone that cares about things like trophies and stuff like that, especially, I hope they make the right decisions here. I hope they keep things intact enough that people can still go back to their PS3, their Vita, in their PSP, which like I tend to go, especially I have PS3 games I want to finish. I have a lot of Vita games I want to play. I mean PSP, I haven't touched a PSP in years now, but still, I understand that one, but it's just I still want to go back and play some of these games, and I hope it does. I hope that's still going to be an option here. So we'll know soon enough, but I really hope this is still going to be an option. I don't want these systems to be permanently retired and completely disconnected from our accounts and things like that.
Yeah, I guess the last thing that I could bring up, 'cause I agree with you. I don't want, and like, yeah, you have to spend money on a server to keep these stores alive and whatever. And on it, I guess, like, if this is true, treat it like the PlayStation Video, what you have done with PlayStation Video. And the other thing, you brought up communities. The other thing that I would bring up is PlayStation Home. They shut that thing down, but actually you could spend money in Home on like shirts and stuff for your place in there and your avatar, and they shut it off. Now, mind you, the community for Home was really small, and the people who spent money in it spent money. But them shutting down the store is a much different story than shutting down like a feature like communities for the PS4 and PlayStation Home, the PS3.
It's different. It's a good example, but it's also different. I always saw Home as kind of an MMO style game, which MMO style games, unfortunately, they do get shut down all the time. There's a long history of MMO games that are now gone and sunsetted. This is different. This is an entire series of platforms.
Oh yeah, I get you there. I'm just using kind of like the analogy. No, it's a way big different thing where they're shutting off an entire store on a platform. As I said, the only good way like to go about doing this, I don't agree, but if this is totally true, you have to treat this like you did with PlayStation Video, where whatever you buy up until the date they shut it down, you get to keep. and it's yours. You can download it, you can add it, you can do all that. So the store is still, it exists.
That's kind of a good example of maybe like a hint, you know, a peek behind the curtain. Because if they did that for PlayStation Video, then maybe it'll be something similar for this.
Mm-hmm. One last thing I wanted to bring up is what's kind of confusing me about this, and the kind of the reason why we talk about this, is that there is only one site that has this report and can, to them, verify. Polygon, Eurogamer, Destructoid, and Games Radar, who are some well-known, big-name video game media journalists, like sites. They can't get to their sources. Like, they have sources within Sony, within PlayStation, and they haven't been able to hear back from them. Only The Gamer, which I personally have never heard of this site before. And they, again, according to a source familiar with the situation, verified by The Gamer, the stores are due to close down from July. Which I'm like, where is your source? Why is it that you are the only one that has this? Like, and I said this earlier. I understand if you can't say who your source is or what your source is. Fine. And you verified it. Great. But why is it then if I have to go, okay, let me counter verify, or make sure that this all matches up? Why
it really is, it is very irresponsible journalism, I think. I mean, I understand there's a lot of rumors that float around for a lot of different things, but I think it's really, I mean, just from a journalistic integrity standpoint, this is going all the way back to kind of the Gamergate stuff again, like in a weird way. Because your source can't just be, trust me, bro. Anyone, I can make up I can make up a source for you. You can make this up for literally anything. I could say an anonymous source told me that Microsoft is gonna buy EA tomorrow. Like, I mean, like I could just say that. Like that's irresponsible journalism, though. Like I like I said, I'm obviously lying in that case, but I mean, even if you're not lying, you need to have some kind of confirmation of a story here. You can't just be like, oh well, so and so. This anonymous source said X and Y. It's just like that's not responsible journalism. So I mean, I'm assuming this is a little bit more than a rumor just because it's been so widely reported. I would hope that all these news sites would not report on this if it was just a fabrication. But there needs to be more out there because the video game industry, probably more so than most industries, is always flooded with rumors and with unconfirmed things and secondhand stories from sources that won't give their names.
So I'm sorry, go on.
I just think it's irresponsible. I think if you're in that case, or in that scenario where you have a source that even if you trust the source, you have no reason to believe the source is lying to you. You need to have some degree of confirmation. Like, I mean, you can't. I mean, if they won't come out and share, the story or give some kind of, I mean, there has to be some explanation as to why. I don't like dealing in rumor. I don't like dealing in this type of stuff. There's no need for it. I don't like this kind of, trust me, bro, type of sourcing.
So, I mean, the thing is that, like, I like, IGN hasn't said anything. GameSpot hasn't said anything. They're probably two of the biggest, like, video game media out there. IGN is the biggest, hands down. And they haven't said anything about this. And I like that. That's kind of why I like going to IGN, because IGN, like, if they can't find a source, or they don't have a source, or it's just kind of going around the rumor mill, kind of what this feels like. They don't report it, or they're not going to talk about it until it's like, all right, can we confirm this? Can this be said? At least that's what I feel. I could be wrong, whatever. But, like, the thing is that even so, the Gamer, like, let's just say the Gamer does have a verified source. Let's say, like, it's legitimate. This is real. Like, we will find out in a few days that this report comes real because Sony comes out and says it. Fine. But the thing is that then why is it that, because Eurogamer has sources inside of PlayStation, Games Radar, Destructoid, Polygon, all of them, they have sources within because they have their own people they talk to. Why is it that they can't get it? Or why couldn't they talk to the guys at the Gamer? Like be like, hey, where did you hear this from? Like, we won't say who it is. We won't say, you can leave that person anonymous. But like, which is what you should do. If they want to be left anonymous, it's within their right to be left anonymous. But you need to somehow verify, be like, all right, is this a rumor? Are they saying, like, oh, it's a quote-unquote verified source? Or is it something else? Is it an actual fact? And that's the problem I have, is that we don't have the other sites who are reporting on this. They can't get to their sources and verify it on their own. Like, for instance, I'll use an example. I love wrestling. I talk about wrestling a lot. I follow the Dirt Sheets, which is like the wrestling news media. Sean Ross Sapp, who runs Fightful, which they're fantastic. Go subscribe to their Fightful.com. Subscribe to Fightful Selects. I love them. They're great. He has sources within the wrestling media, within WWE, within AEW, within Ring of Honor, so on and so on. He has his own sources. He's been able to keep if it's anonymous, he speaks about it anonymous, but then you can verify it from other people like Dave Meltzer, who runs the Wrestling Observer. Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez, they have their own sources, and they talk to other wrestlers and other personnel, behind, like, backstage or whatever, about what's going on, and can this thing that we've heard, is it verified? Is this true? Is this story a shoot? Is this wrestler actually injured, or is this a part of the storyline? So on and so on and so on and so on and so on. So, like, I can, when I read wrestling dirt sheets, when I read wrestling news, I can be like, oh yeah, Sean Ross Sapp reported on this. His sources, even if they're anonymous, are anonymous. But then Meltzer speaks about the same thing, and so on and so on. So there's a verification that's happening. Because even if the source is anonymous, because they want to be anonymous, so that way they don't lose their job, or whatever, you can still, like, I can be like, oh, that makes sense, this connects, so on and so on. This doesn't connect. That is the problem that I have with this. Is that, why is it that Polygon can't get sources, Eurogamer can't get sources, but the one guy who does is The Gamer, which, who the hell are you?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So, I don't know. I've never heard of this site. Like, it seems like they have, like, a bunch of stuff. They do a lot of articles and stuff, but, like, I don't know. I've never heard of this site before, so I don't know. Yeah. I have no idea. Any last words about this?
No, I think I've said everything I need to say. We'll see how this works. Hopefully, really soon.
Yeah. And hey, like, we record this on the 27th. And if by the time this video goes up and it's been reported, then there you go. But I guess time will only tell. So I guess we'll see. I really do hope that this isn't true, or at least we can get some much needed details about if it is happening, why is this happening, and what's going to happen in the future. So, yeah. So, guys, that is it. That is everything. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Tell everyone you know. And please, tell us in the comments, what do you guys think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What do you think of this, the PlayStation Store being shut off on the Vita and PS3 and PSP reportedly being shut down? Do you have a Vita? Are you upset? Are you happy? I mean, I don't know. I don't think anyone's happy about this, but, like, we would love to hear your opinions. That's the whole thing. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/Brotherhood of Geeks. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Tell everyone you know. Tell your parents. Tell your buddies. Tell strangers. Tell everyone you know in the universe about the Brotherhood of Geeks, because we would love that. Also, you can go ahead and follow us on our Facebook, which is facebook.com/The Brotherhood of Geeks. You can follow us on Twitter at DualShockedBOG. That's the name of this PlayStation podcast. It did a DualShocked BOG. And then you can also follow us on Twitch when we stream at twitch.tv/Brotherhood of Geeks. So yeah, we're working on like multiple projects. Like I'm working on the review for It Takes Two. We're going to be doing a collection video. Spectre's going to be doing a collection video of like Vita stuff and other things. We have multiple videos coming in the works, and we actually have some really fun plans that are going to be happening in the near future. And I will definitely say I'm very much excited what is kind of coming for the future for the Brotherhood of Geeks for this channel. So yeah. Any last words, Spectre?
No, yeah, I mean, yeah, me too. I'm excited. I mean, we got a lot of cool stuff coming out. Like I think the collection videos is going to be pretty cool as well too. I think I have sort of a kind of unique take on it. I know there's a lot of collection videos out there, but I think some of the stuff I have is kind of unique and some of the stuff I go for. And yeah, like he said, there's a lot of cool changes coming to the channel. So, cool times, fun times.
Fun times. All righty then. Well then, I guess that is it. Well then, I'm Brent J. Rasmussen.
And I'm Spectre.
And as always, live to play, play together. We'll see you guys next time.